Hi, good morning, good evening. As per your time zone, I'm Kumkum Sharma from iZenBridge, and I would like to welcome you all in this webinar on Agile Delivery with GenAI Real World Use Cases with Rajashri Arjun. So it's my pleasure to introduce Rajashri Arjun, an AI enthusiast with over 21 years of experience in the IT industry and a strong passion for the continuous learning. Currently serving as an Agile coach at Ericsson, he plays a pivotal role in driving Agile transformation initiative across the solution area enterprise system, which includes HR, finance, supply chain, sourcing, and API factory portfolio. Rajeshri is also actively exploring lean agile strategy to help shape adaptive approaches for business agility. In addition of his coaching responsibility, he delivers corporate trainings in portfolio management, Scrum, SAFe, and so far, he has trained over 900 professional in past 5 years. The very rich experience. Thank you, Rajashri, for joining me for this webinar. Thanks for taking out time. Over to you.
Thank you, Kumkum. So let me share my screen and then we should get started. Let me just get some settings in place. What's that? Perfect. So the screen will be shared now. Let me know once you can see my screen. All of you.
Sure. Yes, we can see your screen now.
So welcome all of you to this webinar on can you use cases? I mean, how can you use GenAI for different agile use cases? And Kumkum has already introduced me, so I will not go through any other additional introduction. Let us straight away get into the content and start, looking into that. I'll just put my screen in the presentation mode, and we should, I think I'll walk you first through the agenda that we are going to cover today. So typically, we would be looking at 8 things. The first is I'll show you a custom GPT, which basically works as an agile coach. Then I would also go through some AI-based analysis of a burn down chart, do some sentiment analysis looking at a retrospective report. Then from the third use case onwards, it's going to be done on a tool called as make.com. We are going to see how we can generate epics from a product description document. Then we would also see how we can create user stories, link them with epics, again related to the third use case. Then we'll also see that how you can do user story refinement, right, using GenAI. Then use cases related to user interface generation, and then we would also do some analysis of a retro board and see how we can generate some action items from there. And finally, we would also do a demo of a voice agent. So these are some of the things that we will be covering in the next 50 to 55 minutes. So before we get into these, of course I would be walking you through these use cases, but at the end of this webinar, right, when if you get inspired that okay, I would need to do something also related to this area, then how do I get started, or what are the things that I need to consider when I identify a use case? So for that, what I have done here is I've kind of created a template which basically covers certain attributes or some certain elements that you would need to consider when you are developing a use case. So typically there are things like, okay, what would be the name of the use case now that you want to do with GenAI? right? What is the current process or the manual process that you are, adopting? Now, in that current process, is it everywhere there is going to be AI in the place, or in which particular or specific stages the AI is going to come in place? So that's the third point. Okay. Then the fourth point is that okay, I will do this, but what kind of benefits I'm expecting? Am I expecting benefits in terms of cost or in terms of quality or efficiency? So you need to kind of start thinking about that also. It could also be that it could be something which is contributing to a larger organizational goal, right? So the fifth one talks about contribution to your organization's objectives. Then, when you are creating a use case, okay, using AI, you also need to start thinking about, okay, what are the inputs that AI is going to get from me, and what are the outputs it is going to kind of come out of it. Okay, where is the human in the loop or the human involvement in that particular workflow that you're going to consider? Okay, what are the tools you are going to adopt into developing this use case, right? And then things like how are you going to monitor the effectiveness of this use case that you are developing using AI, and what could be the some of the risks that you are seeing? So when you have these sections filled up, you will typically start, get I mean, before you start building it, it's very important that you start thinking about all these different attributes so that it helps you, to build it without uh, losing those oversight of the big picture. So, as an example, I have given here, oh, sorry, as an example, I've given here a filled up template. So, this is something related to how do you write epics, right, in Jira from a product description document. That's the name of the use case. And then I have kind of, given some examples also over here that what was the current manual process, okay, how is the AI going to be looped in into this workflow, okay, what could be the benefits I'm going to get out of it, and things like that, right? So I'm not going through this because at the end of the session, this recording will also be available to you, right? So you can go through this filled up template and see like what are the things that, I mean, the way you need to kind of write it. Okay. So this is an example of a filled up use case uh, for a specific use case. And for each use case, right, you need to kind of start filling up this kind of a template. Now, imagine that you have a use case developed, and once the use case has been developed, the next thing is your senior management might be interested to know that uh, what was the benefits that you got out of it, right? So they would probably like to see some kind of a report, right? That how things have improved, and in terms of cost or in terms of productivity or in terms of time and stuff like that. So is there a way to kind of report those savings or efficiency? Well, there are multiple ways of reporting it, but one way which I have been looking into is kind of this kind of a format in which you would be typically having two swim lanes. One is the before one, where you are doing the steps in a manual way, and then the second swim lane is related to the after stage, where you have kind of done it using AI. Now, you may not have done everything using AI. You might have done certain things with AI. There are certain things that you are still doing it manually, and there are certain things that you have delegated to your team member with the same deliverable, right? So that's a template that you can use in order to kind of showcase that how are the efficiencies getting improved. So again, in line with this template, right, this is another example, right, that okay, if I want to create an epic backlog, in the past this was the estimated number of hours that I used to be spending. These were the different activities that I was doing. Now, the same activities, we still do them, but there are certain activities which AI is doing for us. There are certain activities that we are still involved. There are certain activities where our team members are involved, right? And that's how once you have that breakup in place, right, then you would be able to show that approximately this is what could be the savings that we are seeing. And it's good to show this to the senior management, because then they also appreciate that, yeah, with the adoption of this new technology, we are able to see certain amount of improvements. So uh, so now I think it's important. Now I think it's time for us to kind of get straight away into some demos and show you certain things that I just told you as part of the agenda. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is about AI Agile Coach, right? It's a custom GPT, and the URL is also given over here. It has been the created in such a way so that anyone, right, with this link can be able to access it, right? So at the end of the session, right, when you get the recording, you can use this link and start using this, you know, Scrum Master and Agile Coach playbook. So what I will do is I will give you a demo of this and show you how kind of you can. I mean, how does it work like? So let's get straight into the demo, and then we will take it from there. So what I will do is I will open ChatGPT, which is already there, and this is my um this is the custom GPT that I'm going to demo you now. Okay. So the custom GPT, you see, it has got a purpose, right? It says that the GPT is going to help you to create a standard operating procedure for a Scrum Master and Agile Coach for the area that you opt for. It's not going to be something that the GPT is going to give in a generic way. It's something that, based on an area where you need help, it's going to kind of work in that manner. So we start off with clicking this conversational starter called as "Let's Get Started," right? And the moment we click here, it comes up with a set of responsibilities that a Scrum Master or an Agile Coach would typically do, right? So it comes up with a set of 12 responsibilities over here. Now it is upon you to choose that what is one area you need some kind of assistance on. Now it could be in one of these 12 areas. Okay, it could also be on an area which is not in this list, something which is very specific, right, in your context. You would need some help on, right? But let's, for the purpose of this webinar demo, let's take one of the things from here, right? For example, let's take that. Okay, let's assume that we have a new Scrum Master in the team, and he needs help to understand how he can remove impediments from the teams that he's working with. So let's take number 3. Okay, removing impediments. So you don't have to write removing impediments. You just need to write the number over here, and then once you click enter, you'll see it's going to come up with first of all, it's going to acknowledge that okay, we are focusing on this, and now it's going to play the role of a coach. Okay, it's going to ask you what are the biggest challenges you're facing right now when you're trying to remove the impediments, and it's going to give you a list of options over here. Now it's up to you to choose from these options, or you can also write a customized response as well, right? So let's take, for example, over here that for the biggest challenge that you're facing right now to remove impediments are that it's let's take A and B, and you're free to choose one option. You're free to choose one option. I mean, multiple options as well. Okay, and if you want a customized response, you can just write D and then write whatever you want to. So let's take, for this particular example, let's take two choices over here. Stakeholders and leadership are slow to respond on blockers. Teams are not raising impediments enough, right? So let's take that, right? And then see what happens. So then it first of all acknowledges your response, and then you see the next question that comes up is a result of the response that you have chosen from the previous question, right? So it says that, okay, which of the following describes why stakeholders are slow to respond or act? Okay, so let's take, say, for example, A here. Okay, Then let's see what happens now. So it again acknowledges, and then the next question is again related to the second response that you have given to the previous question. Okay, which of the following describes why teams aren't raising impediments? Okay, so let's say that there is no structured way to raise impediments here, or let's take all of them. Okay, or all A, B, C. Let's see what happens, right? So then the next question is again based on the response that you have given to the previous question, right? So what's currently missing or not working in your escalation of all our processes? Okay, so let's take there's no regular cadence or visibility mechanism, right? So this way, what happens is it does some kind of a 5 why analysis, right? After a 5 why analysis, it summarizes your problem statement and comes up with a set of potential solutions for you, right? And it comes up with 8 solutions that you can start looking at. Now obviously you may not have the bandwidth to introduce or spend time to work on all these 8 solutions, right? So you might think that, okay, let me read these solutions and see which one might be a practical one for me to kind of do this. Okay, so you can just read this, like introducing a visual impediment tracker, or create a definition of impediment, or establish a weekly impediment review ritual, right? Or run a psychological safety meaning retro, something like that, right? I mean, there are so many things that it comes up with. So let's take that. Okay, let's start off with one solution. Let's start off with say number two. Okay, so it asks you that what is the solution that you want to proceed with. So let's say that we want to go with number two. Yeah. So once you click on number two, then it generates a standard operating procedure for you with what you need to do, right? It sets up the procedure, it sets up the way you need to do it, how do you draft your cheat sheet, okay, then how do you review with your team, right? And then if you are working as part of an art, then what are the art roles with which you want to work with, right? So it typically gives you all the different things that would be there as part of the solution. And then, of course, at the end, it consolidates that with the references that it has, with which it has developed this artifact. Now, you will see in my PPT, I've also introduced here something called as a scoring model. The scoring model here means that when you are creating a document, okay, I want the GPT to score the document based on the criteria that I have set. Right. So one of the scoring documents that I have kind of, one of the scoring documents that I have kind of, put over here is something like this. Okay, I'll just show you this. Uh, so this is a scoring document which I have put that when you create a document, I want you to score the the document in terms of relevance, in terms of clarity, in terms of accuracy, in terms of consistency, conciseness, and logical structure, right? And then I've defined like what does a poor mean, what does a fair mean, and what does a good mean, okay, in a scale of 1 to 10. Now, this is something that I have defined, right? And I want the GPT to score the artifact that it has built up based on this criteria that I have set, okay? So you'll see over here towards the end, right? It also generates a score over here in the scale, in the rating scale that I have given. Okay. Then in a scale of 1 to 10, it gives me this, the score. And then finally, it concludes by asking me whether I want to export this document in a Word document or something like that. Right. And then if I say yes, then it's going to create a Word document for me. So that was one of the use cases that I wanted to show you. And you, of course, would have this, link. You can play around with it. And if you have any feedback for that, also at the end, right, I'll be sharing my coordinates with you. You can always give me a feedback also on this. Okay, so this is one of the use cases. The second use case that I want to walk you through is on a AI based analysis of a burn down chart, risk, and then do some risk analysis or and sentiment analysis. And I'll take questions at the end. If you have questions, please type in the chat window. We'll take it, towards the end of the presentation. Okay. So let's do a demo of the second use case now. Okay. It's called as an AI actionable Scrum Master. Okay. And what you'll do here is, like, when you use this GPT, you need to provide a screenshot of your team's burn down chart or the burn up chart or a cumulative flow diagram. Okay. So let's click on this. Let's get started. And what it says is that let's upload your data. Okay. Once you upload your data, I'll be able to analyze it. So what I have done is I've taken a sample burn down chart from Jira, and I'm going to use that to um, I'm going to use that for our demo over here. So let me use that, and this is the burn down chart I'm using here. Okay, and then you don't need to write anything. You just need to upload it and just click enter. Then it's going to start the analysis of it. So this is the analysis that the planned points that it wanted to work was with 65 points. It completed 35 points. The velocity was 53% of the planned capacity. Then completed stories, cycle time, what were the blockers and impediments it saw, what were the patterns. Okay, then it creates a report out of it, right? That the sprint started on September 11th, concluded on 23rd of September, right? Then what was the goal of the sprint? Okay, it was not given in the burn down chart, but the GPT kind of creates an inference out of it. What were the achievements? Okay, what were the impediments that it had? And then some of the matrices over here. Then you see it talks about predictive insights also. Okay, so if the one of the predictive insights is the risk of carryover, okay, team morale and load. Okay, probably there is a sign of blockers or there is some kind of a misalignment. And then the AI also comes up with some suggested improvements for us. Okay, you need to look at your story sizing. You need to introduce whip limits. You need to do a good refinement process. I mean, refinement sessions. You need to have some kind of mid sprint checkpoints. Introduce definition of ready, right? So, and then it doesn't stop here. It goes on and starts asking you, can you give me some historical data from the last 3 sprints also? So then let's do that. Let's upload the historical data for the last couple of sprints and see what happens. Okay, so here you see we have uploaded a velocity chart over here, and then it does an analysis of this, and then you see over here, right? The GPT now says that what could be the potential risk if this trend continues. What could be the potential risks for the upcoming sprints? Okay, teams are consistently planning 2 or 4 times more than their capacity. Okay, inconsistency in delivery. There is a low velocity ceiling, right? And then it tells you what are the areas that you can, do some kind of process improvements as well. Okay, and then at the end it says that now can you give me a retrospective feedback from the team that you have, from the team, right? So we have a retrospective board over here. So I'll upload that also, and then I will show you what kind of a sentiment analysis it does. Okay, let me upload that. So this is a retrospective board, captured in Mural. So I'll just upload that. And once it gets uploaded, then we can just press enter, and now it's going to read this entire retrospective board, what went well, what did not go well, right? And then it's going to find out what were the positive sentiments, what were the negative sentiments, right? And then it's going to you know uh, come up with some indicators, okay? And then you see, so a very important thing over here, like it find out some kind of signals also: emotional fatigue due to just staff changes, frustration with pace of delivery and perceived misalignment, indirect burnout signals from repeated mention of sickness, uncertainty, and missing people. So at the end here, it creates this some kind of a actionable, uh, I mean, some action items for the Scrum Masters to take back, so that you know they can basically work on this. So this is what is the report, and you see it. I think this is pretty cool, right? I mean, you get a lot of insights, which and it saves you a lot of your time as well, right? When you do this kind of an analysis using this custom GPT. So this was the second use case. Okay, I just wanted to walk you through some two different types. Now, the third use case, I mean, from the third use case onwards, I'm going to show you something in a tool, right? And what is the use case that we are going to do now? We are going to use a platform called as Make, and the first use case that we are going to do is we are going to create epics from a product description document. Okay, so we have a prompt over here. Like, we have a prompt here. We'll take this prompt, and we will first create a product description document, and from there we are going to generate the epics. So let's open a new chat instance. Okay, and let's type this prompt here. So the prompt here is, you need to act as a expert product manager. I'll give you the URL of the company's official website. You need to specifically ask me to provide the URL of the company, and do not proceed till I give you this information. Okay, and then once I give the information about the URL of the company, is going to look into the company's website, is going to look at the products it builds, and then come up with some idea about a product that they can build, so that it can give them a competitive advantage. So if I click here on enter, you see it's asking me that give me the URL of the company's website. Okay, so what I can do here is I can type here, say for example, iZenBridge.com. Okay, so www.iZenBridge, BRIDGE.com. Okay, so let's see, right? The what what is the response we get? So here you see it comes up. It looks at the website and says that, okay, we want to create a product by the name of iZenBridge Agile Buddy. Okay, who would be the customers who would be using this product? Okay, what is the problem that this product is likely to solve? Okay, what is the proposed solution that this product is going to give us? What are the key features this product is going to have, and along with the features, what could be the benefits it can provide? Okay, how would this product serve as a competitive advantage over iZenBridge's competitors? What could be the business impact, and then what could be the go to market strategy for this particular product? Okay, so we have this kind of you know a product description over here, but what we want to do now is we want to convert this product description document into a document, right? So let's say that, can you convert this to a Word document? Can you convert this into a Word document? So this takes a little bit of time because it's going to generate it in Word. So it takes a little bit of time over here. So just give me some time till that it creates the Word document. Meanwhile, uh, could you just type in the chat window? Are you finding it interesting? Okay. So the document has been created here, and let's download it. Okay, the document is uh, created, and we have this over here. So we have this document here right now. Okay, and what we will do now is we will take this document, and we are going to put it in a Google folder. Okay, so we will just copy it as is over here. Copy it as is, and what we will do is we'll open Google Drive, and we have a folder called as product inputs, and we will create a document here and just paste it here, and then give a name to this document like Agile Buddy or something like that. Okay, so the document has been created. Now what I told you is that we would be uh, you know coming up with some use cases on this, right? I mean some epics on this, and for that what we are going to do is we are going to use an integration platform called as Make, right? So in Make, what happens is you can create your you can create your scenarios. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to use this scenario epic creation to generate the epics for us. And let me first explain to you what happens. So it's going to first read the document from the Google Drive, right? Then the GPT is going to read the entire document, and it's going to create epics in a JSON format. Then the JSON is going to be iterated, and it's going to temporarily first put the epics in a Google Sheet, and from there it's going to directly go and update that in Jira. Okay, so my Jira instance is here, and you see it's kind of nothing is here, right? I mean, there's no uh, stories or epics or anything in this backlog. It's an empty backlog, right? So ideally, what happens is that when I run this, right at the end, you should be able to see a bunch of epics that have been created over here. Okay, so let's see, like what happens. Okay, so what I will do is I will uh, start it from here. So I will take this Agile Buddy one over here, and I will run it once over here. So you see, once it is running, here the GPT is now working. Okay, and it's now you see the epics are getting created over here. So you see these numbers, right, are increasing. So I have configured it in a way for the demo purpose to create 5 epics for us. So if I now go and do a refresh, right, in my Jira instance, you'll see 5 epics have been created over here, right? Interactive simulation, the engine development, AI powered adaptive coaching, gamification, micro certification system, corporate dashboard, and team integration, blended learning integration with iZenBridge LMS. Now, it has not only created these epics, it has also given us some description also for the epics. Okay, some descriptions clearly articulate the why, right? Bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and real world execution by immersing learners in some dynamic scenario based challenges. Establish a clear, measurable outcome, and so on and so forth. So you see, it has, when it has created the epics, it has not only created the not only given me a summary, but it has also given me some description also for that epic. Okay. Now let's come back. Okay. Now over here, so that was the first use case. Now the second use case I want to show you is that okay, we have epics. What could be the next thing that you want to do? You want to create user stories, right? You want to create user stories with these epics, and then you want to link them also with the epics, right? So let me walk you through that use case now. So again, we'll be using the same integration platform, Make. So let me come back here and run you through that scenario now. Okay. Mm, just give me a minute. I just want to find out where I've kept it. I think most likely it is this one. Yeah. User story generation from epics. So now the input is the epics, right? The input. So my scenario is that it's going to read the epics from here, and then the GPT is going to find out what could be the stories, and then it's going to iterate and then upload that back into the Jira platform. Okay, so let's do that now. So you see it's working here, and then it's creating the stories. Okay, so for every epic it's going to create, I think, a bunch of 3 or 4 stories, right? So approximately we'll have around 15 to 20 stories it is going to create. So just watch these numbers over here. The count is increasing. So it's showing that the epics are actually getting created. Sorry, the user stories are getting created. 15 stories have been created, and they have also been linked with the epics. So if you want to see that, just come to your backlog here, and you see you have all these stories over here, right? And they have been also connected with these epics also over here. And if you open up a specific story over here, you will see that it has also written down the description of the story in the format, in a usual user story format that we know, right? As a registered learner on iZenBridge, I want to access Agile Buddy simulations directly so that I have a seamless learning experience without switching platforms. So you see, it is when it is writing the user stories, it is also identifying the persona. Okay. If you take this one, right, you'll see as a corporate training manager, I want to view progress of employees and so on and so forth, right? So while it is creating the user stories, it is also identifying the personas also with which, for whom these user stories are being built for. Okay. So, so you see the power of these integration platforms integrated with ChatGPT. It makes your life so easy. So that was another use case. The next use case that I want to show you is that okay, we have user stories. Can we generate acceptance criteria using a kind of a Gherkin format? Okay, so let me show that to you now. Okay, so for that, what we'll do is we will take a couple of stories from here. Say, for example, we'll take 2 stories, and we will put it into our sprint backlog here. Okay, we put it into the sprint backlog. And you see over here, when I put it into the sprint backlog, it should be visible here. Okay. So what I want to do is, uh, if you look here, it's like the first column says that AI input for acceptance criteria. Then it's going to be done. Then the team is going to review it. Then it's going to work. Then there is going to be a work in progress. So this way, there is a workflow that we have created. Okay. So if you look at this story, okay, over here, you will see that the acceptance criteria field is blank. There's nothing mentioned in the acceptance criteria over here. So what I want to do is, I want that when I drag this story from to do to the AI input for acceptance criteria, the acceptance criteria should be automatically written. Okay, and it has to be written in a Gherkin format, like given, when, then. Okay. So what we will do is, we will come back to this scenario here again, and uh, I will run you through, that uh, that use case now. Just give me a sec, because sometimes what happens is I forget, the names. I should have given meaningful names to this. But yeah, let's look into this. Okay. So I'll run this scenario here. Okay. So it's waiting for the data to come. The data here means, the webhook means, is going to wait for the triggering point. So let's look at this. Okay. Let's move this story from here to here and see what happens. The moment I move this here, this trigger starts working. You see, this is working, and it's now it has generated the acceptance criteria for me. If I do a refresh now, you'll see that the story has moved from this AI input for acceptance criteria to the team review. Okay, so let me do a refresh, and you'll see that the story has moved over here. And if you open the story here, you would see the acceptance criteria written over here. You see, the first scenario, given, when, then. Okay, the Gherkin format, if you are aware of it. Then another one over here, given, when, then. There's another one over here, given, when, then. Right, another one over here, given, when, then. So you see, it also has the capability to generate acceptance criteria for you. It all depends on how you are structuring it in make.com, what is the prompt that you're putting in the chat GPT within make.com, and then it's going to do the work for you. So that was another use case, right? The next use case that I want to show you is about a user interface generation. So now many a times what happens is, there are certain use cases which requires you to, as a developer, to interact with the UI, or the UX engineer, right? There is an interaction between the developer and the UI UX team. So can ChatGPT, make.com help us to kind of do that kind of a work? So let's look into that now. Right. So I would again go back to my scenarios over here, and then I'm going to show you the UI generation piece as well. So let's look into that now. So again, I have to run it here. It's going to wait for the data, and I come back here. So the first thing is, the moment I put this story to the AI review for user interface, then this trigger is going to start working. Now it's waiting for data. Okay. So let's do that. So let me move the ticket here. Let's assume that the teams are going to do some work over here, and now let's move it here. Okay. Once we move it here, it's going to start working. You see, the moment I moved it over there, it has started to work. So now, because it's going to generate some kind of an image, right? The image generation is going to take a little bit of time. Okay. So the GPT first converts that, into some text and sends it to DALI. DALI starts generating the image. From there, an HTTP request is going to get created, and that's going to get fired into my Jira platform. Okay. So that image generation takes a little bit of time, but yeah, so I think it's done now. So you see, the the user interface has been created. Now, if I open this and I go down, you'll see there is one attachment. It has, appended over here. So this is the user interface it has created. Okay. So now it's not great, but at least, it gives you some information. Okay, what could be a potential user interface for this kind of a requirement for us? Okay, so that was another use case. Are you all finding it interesting? Then another use case I want to also show you is related to retro board. Okay, so imagine that you are a scrum master, you have done some kind of a retrospective, and you want to come up with some action items and have those action items again, in your Jira platform. Okay, so let's see whether we are able to do that, right? So what I will do is I'll take that same retro board, right, that I had used in the custom GPT, right? This one. So you see, this retro board is basically an image file. Okay, it has got all these different stickies over here, and we want the integration platform to analyze this and come up with some action items for us. And those action items should get populated back in Jira. Okay, so let's do that now. So what I will do is I will go back again to our integration platform, and yeah, this is the one. So that file is basically I've put it in my Google folder. So I'm going to choose the file. I'm going to save it. And here, what is going to be done is, right, it's going to there is a module over here called as Google Cloud Vision, which is going to basically extract the text from that image file, pass it to the GPT. The GPT is going to do the analysis, and then finally is going to come up with some action items and populate that in my Jira, project. So let's run it, and let's wait for a few seconds rather, for it to kind of populate it. So it has come up with, you see, 10 action items. Okay, and these 10 action items, if you look at this board over here, it has uploaded it over here. You see, these are the 10 action items it has come up with. Develop a clear plan for handovers, improve facilitation skills, continue and formalize collaboration with project managers, share interest of topics. Okay, organize a focus day, schedule a retro with line managers to discuss topics that are outside the team's control. So you see, now it is up to the teams, right, to decide, okay, which action items they would be taking into their sprint planning. So these were some of the use cases that I wanted to show you, related to what you can do in an agile space. I mean, there are a lot of other use cases also you can do, but using mate.com integrated with ChatGPT, not only ChatGPT, I mean, it can also be Gemini, Claude, whatever, right? You can actually, do a lot of these simulations and save a lot of your time. Okay. The last use case that I'm going to show you is a little bit different, but it's very interesting. It's going to be about a voice agent, which is going to actually have a real time conversation with me. Okay, try to understand my problem statement, and try to book an appointment with me. So for that, what we will do is, I need a volunteer here. I want someone to basically give me your Google Mail ID, because what is going to happen is there is going to be a meeting invite that is going to get sent out to you. So it's just to show you the power of the system, which can where it can basically book an appointment with you. Okay, so any volunteers here wishing to share your Gmail ID with me?
I just ping her.
It's great.
Yeah, just give me a
Yeah. We have in the chat window. We got two.
yeah. Okay, fine. So let me just open the chat window.
And Rajat also shared. Good, guys. Hope everybody's enjoying this webinar.
Let me take a simple one over here. Okay.
Okay.
Let me take Chaya Kolar. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically I need to stop the share and then reshare again, because there is a sound of the system. The computer sound has to also be shared with all of you. So before I do that, let me just make a note of. Let me make a note of the email ID. And Chaya, you would need to confirm at the end whether you're getting an email or not, right?
Sure.
Just give me a second, okay? N. Okay. So now I think we are good to start. So let me share my screen again. Share the sound. Okay. I'll run it for 2 seconds and just get a confirmation from you whether you're able to hear it or not. Okay, then I will resume it again. So this entire voice agent that I developed, you see, this is the prompt, okay, that I have created. And it is also integrated with make.com. Okay. So let me first run it for 2 seconds.
Hello, this is Mike from AI Agility.
Could all of you hear the voice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So now let me go through this end to end. Okay.
Hello, this is Mike from AI Agility.
Hey Mike, how are you doing?
Oh, you're too kind to ask.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great, thanks for confirming. How can I help you today?
Yeah, so we have a team of 40 people with us today. We were actually looking for some guidance. I think this is today causing a problem with me. I don't know. Last time when I used it, it worked pretty well. But let me see if it works again. Just give me a second, okay? Sometimes, I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing it is giving me a problem. Mm, just one sec. Otherwise, we cannot run this simulation.
How can I help you?
It's not working today that well. So sorry, I can't show this today. But mm, later on, if I get some other opportunity, I would be, showing you. But yeah, so that was what I wanted to cover with all of you. Now, we have, thought about that. Okay, after showing you these use cases over here, we thought about, why not have a workshop with people who are interested to kind of, learn this. So we basically have some plans to, do some kind of workshop during the month of August. Kumkum, would you like to kind of, speak a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, guys, me and Rajashri, we planned this workshop and we thought, okay, covering everything is the 1 hour webinar would be very difficult. Okay, so it's a 7 hour session, and this one is a paid session. I'm sharing the link in the window. You all can take a look, and if you need any further details for the registration, you can connect me. I'll share my email address as well here. And it's a 23rd of August, which is Saturday, and we are starting this program 4 p.m. IST, and we'll finish by 11 p.m. IST. So I think the time is comfortable for India, US, and UK, and Europe, and Middle East. So I'm not sure. I think people have joined across the globe this webinar with us. So this is the link, and this is my email address. And one more important information I have for you guys. First, let me share my email address with you. So this is the paid workshop, and the cost for this workshop is 7,000 plus GST. But the people who wants to join today from the today's session, we have discount for them. So for discount code, you can connect me. So you will get the 2,000 rupees discount on this workshop if you enroll today. So anything else? I think we can, Rajashri, we can take the questions. I think we have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So
So I am reading the questions here. So the first question, I'm just taking it in the order in which it has come. What if the company, this is Maitri Pawar's question, what if the company has several services, products from different sectors? What happens if we give such companies URL for the third use case? Well, uh, that was just an example that I gave you. You can also give, multiple website URLs to come up with the product description document, right? So that's absolutely perfect. Then the next question is from Amit, and I think that's a very reasonable question. How much is this platform secured? Because if you are talking about sectors like banking and all that, there is going to be a lot of concern related to security. Well, uh, this platform operates in the cloud, but they also have, some, I would say, uh, private cloud, setups where they guarantee you kind of, data security, and they are basically compliant with some data security organizations like GDPR, HIPAA, and so on and so forth. So at least they claim that. Now, if the security is even more of a greater concern, then there are, integration platforms like N8N, which is kind of, self-hosted. You don't have to host that in the cloud, which can make where you can ensure that your data remains, within your organization itself. Okay. Then there's another question that came from Madhavi: how to ensure consistency across the UI screens and flows. Now, Madhavi, the answer to this question is that, you see, AI is just going to help you to generate certain information, right? But in order to do the entire UI, right, there is going to be a human interaction with the UI UX engineers. So the example that I showed you was just to give you a, you know, just to have some kind of an initial setup, right, which can basically save a lot of your time, right? Then is there any other question? I don't think so. We have any other question here. Yeah. Or did I miss out any question?
I don't think so. Even I have checked. I think you have covered everything. So let me just
Sorry, I
stop.
have a question. I mean,
Okay,
if
go on, please.
yeah, actually, just wanted to understand. I mean, appreciate that you have shown this. Like the kind of a chat GPT agents who are doing this work. But then, is it possible for us to actually do the end to end? Like because recently I had went for an interview, and that time this was a question asked to me, like you give a product, you give a user story, and then you deploy it, and the developers are deploying it, and it's just so. Is it possible, like without human intervention, this end-to-end automation is possible? I mean, is it possible?
It is possible, but I will definitely discourage you from doing that. Okay. So think of AI just as your buddy and not like someone to replace you. I personally, I'm a strong believer that, the human intelligence is going to be much more useful. AI is just going to do a part of your work. Now, when I showed you, the acceptance criteria, it generated 5 or 6 acceptance criteria. You may not need all those acceptance criteria, right? So then you can start, moving out certain things from there.
Perfect. Yeah, makes sense.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Then there's a question from Sudhir. GPT shown, are they readily available or built by you? No, I have built those GPTs right from the scratch, and the metadata fed into these GPTs. Yeah. So basically, it is a custom GPT, right? And I've trained it in a way with my own, I would say, knowledge base, and also made sure of two things, right? One is that it doesn't hallucinate, and second is, my the prompts that I have used to build is kind of, copyrighted. So if you no, you don't need permission to access the GPT. It's a public one, but you can try doing some security breaks to see whether you're able to steal the prompt. You will not be able to steal the prompt, right? Because the GPT has been built in such a way so that the prompt has been kind of, copyrighted by me. Now, you can use the GPT, but the way I've written the prompt, maybe that is something that you may not be able to, break it.
So, hey Rajashri, this is Rachit here. So, in the workshop, will you be guiding us to create a GPT for our requirement, or just how exactly it will be?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is going to be a section on how do you build, your custom GPTs. Absolutely.
And this one as well, right? And calling on Jira, I mean, the workflow construction
Yes,
as well, right?
yes, yes.
Development
So
construction.
whatever you saw in the webinar, right? We are going to build those right from the scratch.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. There's a question from Abhishek. Can you tell something
Yes.
about make dot?
Yeah, I want
Make.com?
yeah, Arjun, I have one question. So, what I understood from your session, session today, that you are using agentic AI here, uh, for that flow, whatever you showed, where you are uploading the data and the work item gets created in Jira. So, firstly, I assume that it must be possible even to create in Azure DevOps. That's my first
First
understanding.
thing, okay, so let's get back into the basics. So see, there are 3 types of things. Okay, there is something called as a deterministic workflow. There is something called as an AI agent. Then there is something called as an agentic AI. All the examples that I showed you was not even an AI agent, not even an agentic AI. It was just a deterministic workflow. Okay, where I have defined that after this you need to do this, after this you need to do that. Okay, so none of these were agentic AI applications.
Okay.
Now
So,
So
sorry.
what is an AI agent? How different is it from an agentic AI? Right? Those use cases, I have reserved it for the for the workshop part because it's
Sure.
too big a topic to cover it in a webinar.
Very true. So that is what was my my intention of the question. So are we going to learn coding, or is it like whatever that UI flow you created? Just want to know, is it like a drag drop and then you can create your own steps, or is it some code behind also we have to in your session it's going to be like that? Because I have no idea. So just wanted to know that thing.
Well, there is a little bit of coding, but that coding is also taken care by the ChatGPT. Okay, so if you ask me if whether there is absolutely no coding, it will be wrong for me on my part to say that there is no coding. But whatever coding is required, that coding aspect will also be handled by the GPT.
Okay, and those whatever UI thing we saw, that will be kind of a drag drop and customization we can do.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, fine. That is what, and that make that tool help us to do that
Yes.
customization of the flow, and
Yeah.
that is what we will cover in the future training. Okay.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Sorry, one more question. So this will work for Azure DevOps also? TF, not just Jira. Because I use Azure DevOps.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it will work with AD also. Yeah.
Thank
Okay. Then there's a question from Madhavi again. They wants to register. So Kumkum, you can help
I'll help.
her to
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
Yeah. So I think already there is a 6 minutes spillover. So I think let me just stop